Welcome to Barbara's Bulletin, the podcast that brings you the latest news and updates from around the world. We have a lot of ground to cover, so let's dive right in. Our top story today is the ongoing conflict between Israel and Lebanon, with Iran playing a significant role in the background. The U.S. has been trying to broker a peace deal between the parties involved, but it's proving to be a challenging task. Despite a ceasefire agreement announced by the White House, clashes continue in southern Lebanon, with much of the area now occupied by Israeli forces. The situation is complex, with multiple players and interests at stake. Iran insists that a deal with the U.S. requires a ceasefire in Lebanon, while President Trump has suggested that he'd like to keep the two issues separate. Meanwhile, Hezbollah's role in the conflict remains unclear, with some reports suggesting that they have agreed to stop fighting, while others indicate that they may not be on board with the ceasefire. The economic implications of the conflict are also significant, with global energy prices soaring due to the closure of the Hormuz strait. This has fueled inflation and eroded Americans' purchasing power, making it a major concern for the U.S. government ahead of the midterm elections. As we try to make sense of this complex situation, it's essential to consider multiple perspectives and avoid taking sides. We'll continue to follow this story and bring you updates as more information becomes available. In other news, the Republican-led U.S. House has voted to halt the U.S. war with Iran, underscoring the political anxieties over an unpopular foreign conflict that is taking an escalating economic toll on Americans. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. As we continue to bring you the latest news from around the world, we turn our attention to a developing story involving France and Russia. According to reports from multiple sources, including the Moscow Times and AFP, French authorities have taken into custody the Russian captain of a seized oil tanker believed to be part of Moscow's so-called shadow fleet. This network of aging tankers is suspected of helping maintain Russian oil exports despite sanctions imposed after Moscow's 2022 invasion of Ukraine. The tanker, named Tagore, was detained by the French Navy on Sunday in international waters with British assistance. It is alleged that the vessel failed to comply with orders and was sailing under a false Cameroonian flag. This marks the fourth time since September that France has boarded vessels believed to belong to Russia's shadow fleet. The captain faces up to 1 year in prison and a fine of €150, while the owner of the vessel may also be subject to similar penalties. The Russian embassy in France has demanded consular access to the captain, rejecting what it calls baseless accusations, and calling for the captain's release as soon as possible. The Kremlin has likened the seizure to international piracy. It's worth noting that Western governments have imposed sanctions on hundreds of vessels believed to be part of Russia's shadow fleet, with nearly 600 ships suspected of belonging to the fleet subject to European Union sanctions. As this story continues to unfold, it's essential to consider the broader implications of these actions. The seizure of the Tagore and the ongoing efforts to disrupt Russia's shadow fleet are part of a complex geopolitical landscape. We will continue to monitor this situation and provide updates as more information becomes available. In a world where international relations are increasingly complicated, it's crucial to stay informed and consider multiple perspectives. Here on Barbara's Bulletin, we strive to bring you balanced and unbiased reporting, helping you make sense of the news that matters. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. I'm your host, Barbara. As we wrap up today's show, we're going to take a closer look at the rising tensions between Russia and NATO in the Baltic region. In recent weeks, there have been numerous reports of Russian aircraft being intercepted by French jets as part of NATO's Baltic air policing mission. According to France's Armed Forces spokesperson, Guillaume Vernet, these incursions are a higher than usual number of provocations, with 11 interceptions taking place over the last week alone. These incidents have sparked concerns that the conflict in Ukraine could be spilling over into NATO's northern borders with Russia. The Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania have been on high alert, with NATO forward presence battalions deployed in each country. But what's behind this sudden increase in Russian activity? Is it a sign of Moscow flexing its muscles, or something more? To put this into perspective, let's consider the comments of Keir Giles, research director at the Centre for Conflict Studies in London. He believes that the Baltic states are well prepared to respond to any potential threats from Russia, with intelligence services closely monitoring activity deep inside Russian territory. However, Edward Lucas, director of the Baltic International Security Center, suggests that this PR offensive may be the goal in itself, aiming to undermine Allied military resolve and sow doubts among the population. If so, this warfare will likely continue as long as the current regime rules Russia. As we try to make sense of these developments, it's essential to remain vigilant and informed. The situation in the Baltic region is complex and multifaceted, with various players and interests at stake. As always, we'll strive to bring you balanced and unbiased reporting, giving you the facts you need to stay engaged and up to date. That's all for today's Barbara's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay engaged.